Hey everyone, Ben Cooper Radio, episode number 151. Hopefully you know I am pretty turd at this number thing. I always get it wrong. It doesn't matter. I'm here, I'm back, it's Thursday. I have two fantastic guests on the show today. I've known these people for quite a long time, probably about 4 years I reckon. We first met, I think, when they came to one of my first ever seminars that I did in Birmingham with Andy McKenzie. I was doing like a little nutrition part of the day. They came along, they grilled me with lots of questions because they're two very intelligent, articulate people themselves. They were great people to have in the audience, and since then we've met several times. We've met at kind of different events and stuff, and they're doing fantastically themselves. So it's only right we got them on the show and we grilled them on all things food and nutrition. Matt and Keres from Fitter Food, hello.
Mr. Kumar, how you doing, buddy?
I am good. I am very good. Right, we need to tell people who you are. We've got a bit of a dilemma. There's two of you, so you might do that whole no, you talk. Oh.
Okay.
So
that's a classic problem. We always look at each other to see who's going to give the other one the go at it. So who's going to take this one?
You go first and try and be succinct.
Okay.
You waffles.
I do waffle. Okay, so my name's Matt, one half of Fitter Food. We are a nutrition, training, lifestyle company dedicated essentially to just making people look and feel awesome. We come from a training background, our personal training, and we do group exercise as well. We used to be pretty big on kettlebells, etc. And we were previously called Fitter London, as we were based in London. So as you could have guessed. And what we noticed with the group training was the kind of the camaraderie, the kind of sense of community that kind of really brought out the best in people, kind of brought out that competitive edge, but without being annoying. However, we noticed over the years, people were more than happy to kind of turn up to the gym 4 or 5 times a week and get their ass kicked. But then as soon as you wanted to make changes to their nutrition and lifestyle, all of a sudden, they start throwing up all these barriers and excuses and obstacles. But we could see that there was obviously a real need for them to change these things. So what we wanted to do was almost replicate what we done with Fitter London, which was the camaraderie, the group aspect of things, but make it about nutrition to see if we could get people on board that way and do it as part of like a group thing. And it kind of just grew from there, really, and we figured straight away that the only way for us to reach more people is to take it online. But the biggest thing for us, I think, was our book, because which is a complete accident, I must add, because initially what we wanted to do was to make information really, really simple, really accessible for people. So we started to get to work on what was meant to be just a leaflet with a brief introduction to nutrition, some really simple lifestyle changes people can make, and also a chunk of recipes that were really, really quick, really easy, but of course nutritious and in line with our principles. But I'm sure you can relate to this, mate. Sometimes when you start writing, you're on a roll, and then next thing you know, what was meant to be a 20-page booklet is now 200 pages, and you're like, how the hell has that happened? And it was on the suggestion of a friend who just said, this isn't a booklet, this is a book, this is amazing, like you should make it as a book, and the rest is history, as they say. The Fitter Food book was born, and yeah, we've kind of never looked back since, have we?
No, we took all of it, the whole business online after that, because we realised we were reaching a broader audience than just London. So we started to run online nutrition programs, training programs, again, just trying to recreate that group environment, but this time with cooking and meal planning, and obviously we coach with exercise as well, don't we? But more emphasis on getting the nutrition in place at the same time as getting your gym sessions nailed every single week.
So give me a little bit of whoa. Sorry, I got loads of feedback there on the microphone. Woo! I have to do my radio DJ thing where I have to like pull the microphone away, speak into it, and then bring it back. So that's what I'll be doing, wobbling around on the microphone. So let's give people a little bit of context, because you came into this both kind of discovering your own journey, like we all do, really, discovering your own journey of health and working through things. Firstly, Keres, tell me some of the stuff that you've had to work through on a personal level, because I want people to be able to really relate with your story and what you've had to work through from a health side of things.
Okay, so basically, all through my 20s, and I've written about this a little bit in the book, I suffered with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. Through my teens, I had really bad acne, which was probably actually PCOS, but then just not diagnosed at that time. So yeah, in my 20s, I stopped. I link a lot of what happened to me to the contraceptive pill. I'm not a big fan of it, but I stopped taking it because I was getting to the end of my 20s and thought I need to start thinking about having a family. And basically got another episode of acne, went to the doctors and they said, you've got cysts on your ovaries and your hormones are all out of whack. The best thing to do is go back on the pill. So they put me back on the pill. And at this time, I was actually working just a normal office job. I actually worked for the food industry, ironically. And I was doing a bit of, I was quite into exercising as a hobby. And around that time I met you, didn't I? And Matt sort of persuaded me to...
Change their life.
because I was very passionate about exercise, loved going to the gym, persuaded me to leave my job and actually become a personal trainer, which obviously involves a degree of nutrition training. I'd also got, it's all a little bit weird timeline-wise, but I'd also got a diploma in public health nutrition as part of my office job. So all the time I was collecting quite a lot of information and thinking there's got to be more I can do nutritionally to rebalance my hormones. I'm quite happy exercising. I know that's got to be part of my life. And yeah, it's from there I started to do just reading around the subject and actually ended up going on to do a naturopathic nutritional therapy diploma in London. And it's there that I really started to understand how nutrition itself is really affecting everything from your gut to your hormone health to neurotransmitters. So even issues I'd have with moods, I could link it back to various things I was eating. And I started to completely transform my diet and then obviously experience the health benefits that we talk about in the book, which is my skin cleared, have a history with IBS as well. I pretty much think I've had everything going, which helps me a lot because I'm able to coach people through, the steps I took and the things I changed about my nutrition and lifestyle to, to get rid of those symptoms and help rebalance my body a little bit. But generally, it's various digestive issues, hormones-wise. Now I'm free from PCOS. I've had scans and they've said, yep, you're all clear. But still, there's ongoing issues that I have to be aware of because I'm a bit of a type A personality that likes to either exercise too much or just be a bit extreme about various things, and that applies to work, doesn't it, as well? Mm-hmm. So I think for me now that the missing piece in the puzzle is just trying to fix my stress and not try and put too much pressure on myself, work too hard and do everything too extreme, really. So
I think that's really interesting. One of the previous guests we had on here, I think about 2 episodes ago, was Mr. J. Teta, or Dr. J. Teta from Metabolic Effect. And we were talking a lot about, and this is why I like sharing the story of other people, we talk about we do the same things that everyone else does, is that we get to a point where we hit the wall. And we have to understand our own body, and hopefully when you become more knowledgeable, you see it coming. Like, now that you're that type of personality that can do it hard, and you might hopefully now go, right, my sleep started to change, I've started to be a little bit more moody, my muscles have hurt a bit, and you know when to click out of it. But then the problem is that most people don't see this kind of stuff coming. And I reckon this is probably a lot of your angle with your nutrition and stuff, that you're trying to help people empower themselves so that, a year down the line, they don't need this information. They can see it coming. They can change the variables. They can pull back on the training, enhance the nutrition, and kind of nourish their own body.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. I think with our lifestyle, I used to think exercise. Well, the way that my timeline has gone, I used to think exercise was the answer to everything. That would fix anything from fat loss to hormones to endorphins, would make you feel better. Then I used to think it was nutrition, didn't do any exercise for quite a long period of time. And then I'm sort of coming around to it's just the bigger picture. It's everything from the way you think, the way you perceive yourself. And like you just said, sleep is a massive factor. And so now what we're trying to do with everybody is it's not just go straight in and go, oh, you need to exercise like this or eat like this. We just look at the whole person and really treat them individually and say, let's look at all these different factors that influence how you feel on a daily basis, and let's change them from the roots and make them behaviours that you implement every single day.
So, Matthew, kind of tell us some of the stuff that has made you discover more about your health and some of the things that you've worked through on a personal level.
Well, for me, it was Keris was like a huge influence on me, positive influence, obviously.
Polite way of saying a nag.
She was a nag, but I needed it. I needed nagging. I suppose you could say I was a typical arrogant and ignorant PT who...
You weren't arrogant.
I suppose I wasn't arrogant, was I?
No.
Quite down to earth, really.
Yeah.
But I was that guy who, I played rugby at a decent standard. I lifted weights a lot. I was relatively strong. I was lean. Therefore, I was a bit like, well, I can just eat whatever the hell I want. I don't put on body fat. I've not got a body composition issue. Booze, happy days. And I almost used to love, if you like, rubbing it in other people's faces, especially Keris's, that I could eat what I want and not put on body fat. However, whilst I was lean and strong and, athletic and no doubt fit, I certainly wasn't healthy. And it took me a good bit of time to realise that, because I was always bloated. I'd break out in spots quite frequently, crazy excessive wind that is just off the scales. And it kind of had a real impact on my health further down the line. Like, my body kind of put up with it for a while, but then all of a sudden, like, energy levels were going through the floor, like sex drive was going down, which I was really quite irritated about. And all of a sudden, I just didn't have the same mindset approach to my training or my rugby anymore. I felt quite demotivated. And of course, these are all signs that, something needs changing, something is not right. And, Keris for a while was kind of giving me grief about, like what I was eating, which was, excessive sugar. I used to be in rugby. I mean, the score, there's quite a big drinking culture. I was eating tons of pasta, bread, fizzy drinks. I still liked my healthy food, but, nothing compared to now. And Keris was kind of at the time talking about you'd kind of been doing the Charles Poliquin biosignature course, hadn't you?
Yeah.
At the time, quite some years ago now. And of course, like, Charles Poliquin bases a lot of his stuff on pretty much a paleo foundation, so to speak, get all the unprocessed stuff out. So I did. Cut out all the cut out all the processed foods. For about 5 days, I felt horrendous. No energy, banging headache, joints hurt. I had a cold, dehydrated, and I just thought, what the hell am I doing? But Keris reassured me. I looked it up online as well, and it was kind of like, this is to be expected. And then literally day 6, I'm not even joking, I woke up half an hour before my alarm. Typically I would normally get up at like 5 a.m, like for my first clients of the day. So I woke up at 4:30 of my own accord, full of energy, literally like done a triple back somersault out of bed, had my breakfast, smashed the day, had the most amazing workout I'd had in a long time, and had consistently high energy levels until the evening when I got home and having dinner and chilling out, which is when I should be unwinding anyway. But the best thing of all, that night, I had the most amazing night's sleep. And then I woke up the next day, boom, the same thing happened. And then all of a sudden, I was getting stronger, I was getting faster, I was enjoying training again, the bloating had gone. And I'm not even joking, I almost hit a moment of euphoria, because I'd never felt this good in my life, as cheesy as that sounds. And I think once you've experienced that feeling where you feel that good, you'd be an absolute fool to want to go back to where you were. Don't get me wrong, I'm not an angel when it comes to nutrition. However, I'm a million times better than I used to be. But I think for a lot of people, they don't give it long enough to reap the benefits, to know that actually I feel pretty shit hot right now. I'm not going to go back to where I once was. So that was pretty much me. I just kind of resisted it for a while, came to terms with the fact that all these things my body was throwing at me were signs that something was wrong, acknowledged it, made the changes, and then, kind of it's grown from there.
You're quite lucky in that, I'd say, not lucky, but Matt also has ongoing gut issues that flare up if he's too bad, or veers too much away from paleo-ish nutrition.
I have a bit of a binge.
And I keep saying to him, it's probably a blessing that he gets these signs and feedbacks, because he could get away with probably, in terms of body composition, he doesn't really need to be strict with his nutrition, so he has to do it from a health point of view, and that's something that, it's a blessing in disguise.
No, I agree.
it's good because now you're almost like a poster child for what I try and do with my work, and probably what you do with a lot of your work, in that the fitness industry classically assesses people by body composition. It's like, if you're lean and you look jacked, then you're healthy, period. And I'll always be in a seminar room with a load of PTs, and I'm like, a lot of you guys look jacked, but I look into your eyes and I can see that you only slept 5 hours. I can see that your libido is not as strong as you want it to be. I can see that you don't have 100% in the tank when you go into your training session. I can see that you're not 100% happy, 95% of your working week. And to me, that's a lot more valuable than looking great. Don't get me wrong, we all want to look good, but health and how we live our life should be the extension of being fit and healthy.
Oh, mate, I 100% agree. And I think, like you, I think you can tell so much by less about what's kind of going on below the neck and more about what's going on above it. Like, someone's face tells a million stories about how they feel. Like bags under their eyes, the quality of their skin, the colour of their skin, and some people just look really pale and lifeless, yet absolutely ripped to pieces. And you normally typically see it, I find, when you go to like these expos, like Body Power, Scottish, SFN up in Glasgow. You'd walk around and see these people with like phenomenal physiques, but then you can see that their skin is awful. They look haggard and tired, and they do not. Their body almost doesn't reflect like true health. You know what I mean?
Health people, come on. Right, I want to pick up on a word you mentioned. You talked about the biosig stuff that Kera's started to move in, and you mentioned the word paleo. Now, for me, paleo is a word that kind of grew, it exploded, everyone got on the bandwagon, and if I was to be brutally honest and pigeonhole you into kind of a camp, I'd push you into that kind of paleo camp. Your book is very much from the paleo world. Now, for me, the word paleo, though, has kind of been used, it's been abused, it's been misinterpreted, it's probably still not fully understood. If I want to get from you an explanation of how you see paleo now, what does that word mean to you right now?
Do you know what? It's just, for me, it's just clean eating. It's just natural, unprocessed food. That's how I see it. So it's food that doesn't go into a factory and have things added to it and be put in a package, had preservatives and chemicals in it. And the really funny thing is, before I even heard of paleo, I was pretty paleo-ish. Mm-hmm. And the biggest difference was breakfast. I was always about breakfast cereal.
Your Special K.
Yeah. I was Special K and soya milk. But other than that, it was chicken salads for lunch, and I loved baked potatoes and rice, and they're not strictly paleo now, but they would have been my source of carbs, so not a processed carb ideally. That comes from just having IBS all through my teens, and even like doctors saying drop the bread, drop the pasta, drop the gluten essentially. And you're absolutely right in that when we wrote the book, one of the reasons we called it Fitter Food was I was actually saying to Matt, this isn't strictly paleo because I want to put dairy in there. There's so much arguing about whether a sweet potato is or isn't part of paleo nutrition, and I was just getting so overwhelmed that I just thought, you know what, we'll just say we're paleo-ish, because I believe that a paleo foundation is a fantastic start for most people, and then what we've been doing increasingly is helping people add back in, the other things that they want to have in their nutrition, and just help them make the right choices for them. So if people are, really want porridge but want to have the rest of the time most of their nutrition is paleo, then that's absolutely cool, if it works for them and they want to have that. Because people also have just got so obsessed with the guidelines. I know I personally have come out of a lot of Facebook groups that are about paleo nutrition because there was so much arguing and fighting over, should we eat a peanut or not, and how much omega-6 is in this and that, and it just got really, I felt like it lost its original attraction for me, which was how can we just get a bit more creative with really clean nutrition and make it tasty and make it appeal to everybody? And that's what we did with Fitter Food, really. And again, sort of, we're just doing a second cookbook at the moment, and we're adding more foods in that we're like, actually, I think this is all right. The science seems to suggest that most people are doing all right on this, and it's really easily available in this modern age. Because I suppose the other side of it is you've got to just make it realistic for people as well and sustainable. That's the answer to a very short question.
Have I got time to contribute to
In a nutshell.
Matt, would you like to say, Matt? Would you like to have a little?
Well, no, I mean, of course, I completely agree with Keris. That is one of the main reasons we always steered clear of the word paleo, because, well, first of all, like I've always said, like we're so far removed from the Paleolithic era anyway. I don't even think, as much as you tried, you could be 100% paleo. For as much effort as you want to put in. Like coffee isn't paleo. And try getting people to give that up. It's hard enough getting people to go down to one a day, let alone giving it up completely. But
green tea is not paleo, but it's still fantastically healthy.
Exactly. So we're just like, as long as people can eat unprocessed, single ingredient, nutrient dense foods, most of the time, you're doing yourself a huge favour. And I think like there's so much room for having the occasional treat or cheat meal, whatever you may call it. Because I think it's good for the soul. I think it's good for people emotionally, and I think in the world we live in now, people don't just want to be told that you can't have this, you can't have that. And like Keris said, I think it just all gets blown out of proportion a little bit too much, And we've, we're called Fitter Food. It's quite ironic that we got a publishing deal on our book in the US and the UK now, and they called it the Paleo Primer, which I've got to put it out there that we tried our best to fight that because we didn't want to call it that because we're not paleo. So we're like, well, you want to call it the Paleo Primer because it's a buzzword. I get it, but we're not paleo. And I know that it's going to be met with, people going, dairy's not paleo, legumes aren't paleo, like you guys are an absolute farce. And we have had that on some of the reviews on the book, but we're a bit like, well,
What they felt was that our approach would be much more attractive to a mainstream audience, so that's outside the fitness industry and people who are really fascinated and interested in health and nutrition, and that's why they wanted to give it the paleo title, so to make paleo a bit more, again, just accessible to anybody, because of the way we delivered the information, which I completely understand, but like you, I think there's more of a backlash now against paleo, so if anything, it's got a bit of a negative spin to it, and because of the sort of zealots out there that have almost scared a lot of people off by saying you're not doing it right. And that was definitely a fear I had when I first started out, was that I wasn't doing it right. And that's just ridiculous when you think about it, because, nobody can actually define paleo nutrition. I know people have tried, but in terms of following it, like that doesn't guarantee the results that, that you're going to have complete and utter 100% health for the rest of your life. Because as we just said earlier, it's about so much more than that for everybody.
Because after a while, it kind of, like the word paleo and the concept and the foods that you can and can't eat almost became, you're right, it became a hot trend. It had its zealots, and almost people were trying to drill into every food and go, right, is it paleo? Let's look at the constituents of it. How long ago was it processed? Does it have anything potentially inflammatory? And, we got so over-consumed about the extreme nature of a diet paradigm. And for me, you sum it up simply, let's eat normal foods 90% of the time, and we can argue about gluten and dairy and eggs and soy and whatever, but I'd hope you agree that ultimately you need to take an individual, you assess if a food is reactive in that individual. If it's not reactive and doesn't pose a problem, then eat it. And then we then create an argument off the back of that. Let's say it's pasta and they're not reactive. Well, then we create a secondary argument that pasta's not that nutritious. So I probably wouldn't eat it all the time, but I'd eat it now and again. So we kind of balance it between what's reactive and what's actually nutritional, I think.
Absolutely. What we try and get everyone to do at some point in their nutrition is just do the elimination diet. So if they can just go through, we say 4-week process, but then if you're getting results and moving forward and symptoms are clearing, push it to maybe 8 weeks, even 12, if you really want to sort of rebuild your health after a few years of suboptimal nutrition. But we think an elimination diet is the easiest way to do that, and paleo is pretty much an elimination diet in terms of non-food, like chemicals and additives, preservatives, that sort of stuff, refined sugars. It's one of the best elimination diets you can probably do. But I agree with you. If someone's intolerant to eggs, it's probably going to feel pretty horrific. So you've got to just take it on a case-by-case basis.
So with the kind of cookbook route, and you kind of ventured into the food, you saw food as an avenue where you wanted to take things. Did you do that because you find that's the biggest suppose, sticking point for a lot of people. It's where they struggle with the actual kitchen, food. What do I eat? How do I keep it interesting?
That's exactly it, mate. Like we were getting the same old excuses over and over again with clients. It was always, I don't have time, eating healthy is boring, it's expensive, and I'm not a cook. That was the classic one. I'm not a cook, I'm not a chef.
Yeah, but then just to, what they would ask for is a list of ready meals from like M&S or Tesco that we would think were like healthy and clean, which would probably work out way more expensive.
Yeah.
Then that's what we would say to them anyway, in terms of if you're doing it on a cost basis.
Yeah. And our kind of goal was to pretty much rubbish all those excuses, because I cook. I'm not a trained chef, but it doesn't mean I can't cook. I'm sure no one would be willing to hire me, but I could rustle up a decent meal. And so we wanted to show people that actually it's not as expensive as they think. It's actually pretty damn tasty, but best of all, it's actually really easy to do. So we wanted to actually just inspire people to get back into the kitchen and know that with 4 or 5 ingredients, they could actually knock together a really tasty meal, in 15 minutes. And I mean proper 15 minutes, not Jamie Oliver 15 minutes, where it actually takes 40 minutes.
Because, like, you mentioned this off air, Karis, before we started recording, that most people, within about 80-90% of accuracy, know what to eat to be healthy. They understand what is healthy and what isn't, barring a few examples. So it is literally the practicality of looking at healthy, real foods and going, all right, well, how on earth do I make that into a meal? And then the other battle you've got is that actually it doesn't have to be a meal. You can just eat a chicken breast with a handful of nuts with 2 apples. That is okay. You can eat 3 apples. Fuck, you can eat 4 in the same meal and you won't die.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it came from me. When I was working as a personal trainer, I always still wanted to eat healthy foods, of course. Like I said to you, I was on that journey anyway, trying to fix up gut issues and other stuff. So I just got really quick at stuff. And like you, I'd be like, well, as long as I've got some fruits and nuts and a turkey burger, it's fine. And actually, if you eat a turkey burger discreetly, it looks like you're eating a sandwich. No one's like, so we got like quite into, that's where the burger thing came from, because as a personal trainer, it's dead easy to eat that in public environments and
just
no one would
keep one in your pocket.
Yeah, no one would have tried. But a lot of the recipes were really quick, because I don't actually like cooking and I have no patience for it. I just burn everything and rush everything. Matt does, but those recipes were what we developed when we were working really long hours, and we're just like, let's just something really quick, simple, easy. So my mum, when she first looked at the book, went, these aren't recipes, this is just food smashed together. Like, you can't call it a recipe book. And some of the more complex ones are actually her recipes, because she didn't want us to go out there with just a burger book.
Yeah, but that's the interesting thing, because I mean, you saw this as well with our book. Like, it's a spiral bound book, it's a wire bound book, and that was for pure practicality. So there's nothing more annoying when you're trying to go through a book and follow a recipe and it keeps folding closed and you've got to use something to keep the page open, whatever. So it's pure practicality. Yes, it wasn't as pleasing on the eye aesthetically on the shelf, but it served its purpose. And our view was, we didn't want our book being on the shelf. We wanted it being out all the time, because there were so many good recipes in there that people would want to cook. And there's over 100 in there. There's plenty to keep people busy. And I think the best feedback that we've had, haven't we, is that people have said that the book is now in such bad condition because it's used so much that pages are ripped out and there's food all over the pages. And I thought, God, like that's music to my ears, because I think there's so many recipe books out there now that, don't get me wrong, are good, but very, very rarely see the light of day. They probably stay out for the first week or so, and then the fact is that when they get home at 6-7 o'clock at night, they need to knock together a meal for the family. One of those recipes isn't going to quite cut it, whereas one of our weekday meals in minutes might. And that was the kind of gap we wanted to fill, in a way, is that we wanted to have a recipe for any occasion. So if it's the weekend, you've got more time on your hands, great, you can be more creative. You've got home after a long day at work and literally you cannot be bothered. There's recipes where you just chuck a load of stuff in a pan, 15 minutes later it's done and it tastes awesome.
See, that's why I think your book's perfect. Now, I've spoke about your book online many a times. I'm a massive fan of it, so I'll look forward to the second one. But you're totally right. Like, I don't like cooking. like people have moaned at me on Facebook for saying that I get some of my meals delivered. I get them cooked and delivered to me. You know, you're a nutritionist. You should be. I don't want to be in the kitchen all the time. No one wants to be in the kitchen all the time. I've got a life to live. Yeah. And you're right. I am actually more than happy to spend 20 to 30 minutes in the evening with my girlfriend, just chilling, cooking a meal, using 8, 9, 10 different ingredients. But when it comes to breakfast, lunch, and afternoon snack, I want to do that in 5 minutes, and I want to know 3, maybe even 2 ingredients that I can put on a sweet potato or on something to make it taste other than just the plainness of that taste. And I think people are actually very idealistic going into a bookshop and flicking through a recipe book and go, yeah, I'm going to do all this. You make a good point. You're not. Most of the recipe books gather dust apart from maybe 3 times a year on my shelf when I've got friends coming around for dinner and go, oh, bollocks, I need to pull something out of the bag here. You know, I'm going to get out the pro book. And they're pro books. And 90% of people never cook like that.
No, we asked people we launched a plan in the new year and said, one of your first tasks is to nail 5 recipes off by heart. So you just know them by rote. You never have to get the book out. You never have to have a shopping list. Even that was a struggle for some people. You know, they were sort of like, "Oh God, I don't know. How would I remember? I can't." You know. And it's just about building it as a habit. But that's one of the key things that everyone should do is think of 5 quick recipes you can make in 10, 20 minutes, because that's when you'll end up reaching for something else that's a bit more convenient and maybe not so optimal, as it were.
But we often say as well, like, if you're, let's say for example, you are cooking burgers. You've made some homemade burgers. Which once they're in the oven, depending on your oven, take about 20, 25 minutes to cook. But whether you're cooking 2, 4, 6, 10 burgers, they still take 20, 25 minutes to cook. So you're like, well, you might as well just cook more. You've got them there. That's next day's lunch sorted. Bung some in the freezer for another day. You can just get them out, defrost them, and job done.
Oh, totally. Let's set a challenge. I'll challenge you in a second, but I'll do it myself. So I'm a big fan of eggs because they're really simple and easy. And people always go, Ben, what can I do with eggs? So I'll list quickly all the ways that I know how to cook eggs, and then I'm going to throw something back at you, and then you can tell everyone a load of different ways how you can cook them. So there's the classics of how you can cook eggs. You've got fried, scrambled, poached, in an omelette. Then you can do a spicy Spanish omelette. You can add pesto. You can add chilies. You can add cinnamon. You can add what's that vegan cheese stuff? It's not cheese, but it's cheese. Anna Sward from Protein Power always uses it. Anyway, that stuff's really good. What else? Then you can different veggies can mix it up. So already, we've got 10 different options for eggs there. You recycle that's like 2 weeks worth of eggs because, again, I wouldn't want anyone to eat eggs every day because that's not ideal. So pick a food group between you and tell us loads of different ways how to cook that one food group.
Also, you're not asking for more egg items.
No, because
I was going to say, wow, you kind of pretty nailed them all there, buddy. What would you say?
Do you mean as in a type of meat or as in...
Yeah, like a meat. So let's say chicken or beef, and then just go spin out 10.
Well, to be fair, chicken's a classic because for me, chicken is just so easy to do. Whether you're doing the whole chicken and you're just coating it in a bit of oil, some smoked paprika, cayenne, garlic, salt and pepper, bosh, whack it in the oven, job done. If you're using like chicken breasts, slicing them up, and again, just getting some kind of like we can get some really good quality like fajita spice combos now, so you don't even need to do anything. It's already mixed together with all the different ingredients. And we'll make fajitas, and we might use like an iceberg lettuce wrap to do fajitas with.
Could stuff it with feta and then wrap it in a slice of Parma ham, bake it in the oven.
And of course, like we always make stuff go as far as possible. So we always use the bones to boil them up to get broth and stock. We make soups and stews and casseroles. Another awesome one for chicken in the winter time, preferably. I mean, you can do it in the summer if you wish. But we always say invest in a slow cooker and literally just whack like diced chicken, herbs, spices, carrots, other vegetables, and garlic in the slow cooker. You come home from work, bang, your meal's done. You just literally dish it up. You're good to go. Freeze the rest or take it for lunch the next day. He's put me on the spot, Kerry. I'll think of loads afterwards. Oh yeah.
Soup, stir fry.
No, but I just think
chicken burgers.
Yeah, that's a
Chicken and
good
pesto. Like you
shout.
said, pesto.
Chicken burgers.
We've been we always tell people to get things like tamari sauce in, and like you said, a decent pesto and stuff that you can literally just stick on any meat or fish, and just gives it a sauce instantly or a taste. So you just more likely to enjoy it.
I think as well, like, because I put up something on Facebook the other day because I said, look, let's face it, a lot of foods on their own are relatively, they lack taste. No one really just wants to eat a plain old chicken breast. Yeah, add in some cayenne pepper, some smoked paprika, garlic, and salt. And salt and pepper pretty much works with anything: salmon, chicken, beef stir fry, whatever. And it's really simple, loads of flavour, and it just gets the job done. It takes away the thinking. Because a lot of times when I cook, I don't measure. I just throw stuff in, give it a quick taste. It needs a bit more of this, great, whack that in. If not, but more often than not, it just works.
Mm. I used to just spread almond butter on chicken breast and eat it like bread.
Yeah. I'll take a word for that one.
Nice.
But you're probably like me. I go through phases where I'll pick like 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 different recipes, and I'll like make them die over 6 or 7 weeks, and then I'll bring like another set of foods in. Again, because it's simplicity. It's like my Neanderthal male brain just wants, that food, go to, and then I'll pick a load of different go-to meals.
Yeah, no, we do so much. So we have phases, and then we get sick of it, and then we're like, right. At the moment, we're having loads of fresh fish. There's a fishmonger who pulls up in Forest Hill and sells the catch that he's had that week. And it's fish we've never really had before, so it's amazing because we're like, we don't really know what to do. And we're having to like be a bit more creative, but we're on week 2 of white fish, and I think I've got one more week of it left, and then I'm not going to have any more white fish for a while.
Give me some red meat.
Back onto it,
So mentioning, I want to talk about the cookbook. I think we need to tell people where they can buy it if they'd like to buy it, because I'd like people to go and buy it. I think it's a fantastic book. It is on Amazon.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. The only thing I'd say to watch out for is that just make sure it is the UK version, because it's called the Paleo Primer. There's a US version, there's a UK version. It might not necessarily be that clear in the text. All I would say is the UK version's got a very white background. The US version is more of a yellowy type background. But if they go through our website, fitterfood.com, both options are clearly labelled on our website, and then it goes through to Amazon, whether they want the UK or the US version. Because obviously the recipes, everything's the exact same, but obviously the measurements, and we say courgette, they say zucchini, etc., etc. So they're the only differences. Other than that, it's the same book.
So when you did the book for the US market, did you annoyingly have to go through the book and change little words like zucchini from courgette and stuff like that?
Thankfully, we didn't.
They did that.
Their team done that, because that just would have been mind-numbingly dull. Yeah.
They don't have passata in America, and they don't have like certain foods we have either, do they? So we had to start to make stuff from scratch.
Yeah. So recipes where we use passata, they had to then have a recipe of how to make passata to then use the passata, and we're like, my God, I thought America was the land of convenience. How the hell have you not got passata of all things?
Oh, brilliant. So otherwise, people can find you on Facebook, Twitter. Where else are you hanging out? What's cool for people to come and find you on?
Well, I'm trying to up my Instagram game. So we do more like videos on there and stuff, because for a while I was just like Instagram. I was just almost posting the exact same thing on Instagram as I was Facebook, and I was like, hold on a minute, how comes our Facebook page has got over 20,000 likes and our Instagram's got like 2,000? Why is there no carryover here? Why have we not got more people following us? But I started like looking at what kind of like reading blogs on, how to be more popular on Instagram and all of that, and we're getting there, aren't we? So yeah, we're on Instagram as well. We're on Twitter, but I haven't got the hang of Twitter at all.
It seems like people's attention spans are getting smaller and smaller, and we're having to get even more and more succinct in what we say, what we do, like snappier videos. You must find the same. It's like we have to be really quick with everything.
Yeah, well, everyone wants a tip or wants something bite-sized these days, or you've got to, draw them in with your information, and you can kind of understand people's frustration, because the health and fitness space, you'll know this online, is very contradictory. I suppose people are almost a little bit numb to listening to advice from other people on health and nutrition, because one person will say another thing, some guys counter arguing it, someone throws a scientific paper in their face and says you're an idiot. So you can understand people getting a little bit numb about reading it, because there's never any clarity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In fact, we're using a lot of personal experience and experience with clients to guide people, because when I say, well, the science says this, because it's changed so much over the last 20, 30 years, people keep saying, yeah, but it might change again. You know, butter was bad, now butter's good, and it could all change again next month. So they're almost not trusting the science. And I'm having to explain, well, you know, technology is advancing, so the science is getting better, but also you are an individual. So what we can offer on a sort of experience level is probably going to help you more than always ploughing through scientific papers.
But that, on another note of that, like, people, you know, you say, like, don't trust the science, but a lot of people don't even trust themselves anymore in terms of, rather than taking something on board and truly listening to their bodies as to whether it is working for them or not as an individual, it's always, oh, well, no, hold on, the science has changed, so-and-so says this guy who's out there with millions of Instagram followers says X, Y, and Z. And it's like, yeah, but hang on a minute, like, do you feel good? Are you achieving your goals doing it this way? So therefore, why the hell should you change it just because Simon says? You know what I mean?
Well, there's a lesson there. Listen to your body, and if something's not working, then reflect, sort it out, write it down, create a different plan, and go from there. The body's I think the biggest detective we've got. Kara, as you mentioned about Matt and his gut, you know, if he lets it get a little bit slippy, his gut goes, "Come on, Matt, too much cake, buddy." And that's the perfect barometer. But you know, people also have to spend time actually listening to their body. You can't. It doesn't just happen overnight. Sometimes we're a bit numb, we're a bit out of tune with these things. So just take some time, listen. Anyway, Keras and Matt, thank you very much for being on the show. It's been an honour talking to you. I had a guest on a while ago, and I went, "Hey, Ben Cooper Radio episode like 125," and he went, "Ben, it's taken you 125 episodes to send you my invite. What the?"
Well, I just want to put it out there. Ben's actually asked us every week to come on. We've just been too busy for him, so it's taken us 150 episodes to
agree.
I'm just kidding. It's a pleasure, mate.
Baller.
Yeah, thank you.
So people, head on over to fitterfood.com. Check out what they're doing. They do fantastic work. Pay attention to them on Facebook. Pay attention to Matt on Instagram as well, because apparently he's really interesting now. And go and get their book, The Paleo Primer. Is a fantastic book. Another reason why I love the book as well is it goes through a brilliant piece of like honest reflection on your health at the beginning. It really puts the ball in your court when it comes to health, and I really appreciate honesty like that in the fitness industry, because there is a lot of waffle and toff. Right, that's enough from me. Again, you two, thank you very much.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
And I will see you hopefully with Rachel next week. If not, who knows? There might have been an earthquake. She might be stranded. I might have a guest. Who knows? But either way, I will be back with you next Thursday. In the meantime, stay awesome. Hey everyone, Ben Cooper Radio, episode number 150. I am full of beans, full of energy, punching and kicking. Yeah. Rachel, hello. Hi.